here, a lot of you come here, you see me present to you, you see me coach you, and sometimes you may get a little bored of the same face. So I brought in some special guests that we'll talk about a little bit. And then I believe next month's is a panel as well. Rachel, can you just advise me on what next month's ramp program is and the date is on it?
April 12th, Rockstar panel.
I'm sorry, you're cutting in and out.
April 12th, Rockstar panel.
Okay, outstanding. So it's going to be April 12th. And what it is, it's a rookie rockstar panel. So for those of you that came to our last panel, it was a seasoned panel. We were talking about industry professionalism. This is going to be a rookie rockstar panel. So this is people that are 2 years or less in the business and they're lighting it up. They're making good money. They're helping a lot of people. And we want to figure out what are the tips and strategies that these individuals are taking to light up their business in the first 2 years in an industry where majority of people don't renew their license after 2 years. Because real estate's barrier of entry is very low. It's very easy to get into this industry, but it's very hard to stay in this industry. So that's what that panel is going to be about. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. That's usually one of our highest attended events. So I highly suggest that you do that. And then naturally, if you guys don't already, tonight, we're going to learn about social media. But before we do, I want to tell you guys a little bit of a story. So I'm going to take you back to 2012. In 2012, I moved back to Fairfield, Connecticut. I had to move back because my father was terminally ill. And somebody had to take care of him. My mother worked multiple jobs. And she was working multiple jobs, so we didn't have to lose the house. So I had to get a job as well. I always wanted to be ripped. So I went into the fitness industry. And it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I ended up becoming a salesman and handing out passes on the side of the street. Now, how relevant that is? Not too relevant, but I found out that I'm very good at sales very quickly. I climbed up the ranks very quickly. But I also realized when working for somebody else, the maximum I was probably going to make in that company was like $150,000 a year. Now, the way that I grew up, legacy was always super important to me. Wealth was always super important to me. And I didn't want to have $150,000 a year lifestyle. I wanted more than that. So I started figuring out what is going to be my side hustle, because I heard millionaires usually have multiple flows of income. So I started looking around, and a friend of mine introduced me to a product which was under a multi-level marketing company, and it was called Body by Vi. And what Body by Vi was, it was an all-natural product. It was an energy supplement. It had protein supplements. So what I started doing is I said, hey, I could easily cross-sell this. Everyone that sits at my desk, whether they buy a membership or not, I'm going to bring up Body by Vi, and I'm going to try to create multiple flows of income. So it ended up working out really good, but I started realizing really quickly that the Body by Vi sales cycle wasn't as quick as the sales cycle of the gym industry. The gym industry typically was like the car sales cycle. If you sat at my desk and you didn't sign up right then and there, the probability that you came back and signed up was very low. But the Body by Vi sales cycle was they had to get to know me. They had to understand that I was an authority. So what did I start doing? I started pushing videos on Facebook, and I started becoming that fitness guy. I was working out a lot, and I was endorsing this product, and I started growing in this multi-level marketing industry, and it was great. But then I realized this isn't really what I want to do. And then I got a call from then a friend of a friend who's now my business partner, and we own a brokerage together. And he said, hey, I don't want a gym membership, but I want to know more about the gym. He ended up coming down to the gym, and his whole family left with a gym membership. He called me 2 weeks later and said, you're probably one of the best salesmen I've ever met. I need you to come work for me. And he was he was a loan officer. And I really respected him, and I was appreciative of that, but I didn't want to trade my desk for his desk. You see, I didn't just want legacy, I wanted freedom. I wanted to go wherever I want. I wanted to work with whoever I want. And I didn't know what would be that vehicle that would take me there. But I told him that and he said, well, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. And then he introduced me to my first mentor, who was a real estate agent. It was supposed to be a 20-minute conversation. It ended up being a 2-hour conversation. And in that 2-hour conversation, I realized not only does this individual know more about his industry than anybody I've ever met, and that's somebody I aspire to be, that if I wanted to go into real estate, there was a lot to learn to become an authority figure. It was much different than fitness. You needed to know exactly what you're talking about. And then, so what did I do? I went to my job the next day. I quit it immediately. They made me stay for a month to hire my replacement. And I started training people in fitness and taking my tests. And then I got into this real estate industry. And I'll never forget when I got into real estate, because immediately I'm excited. So I'm telling everybody like a natural salesman, this is what I do. I sell real estate. I called one of my best friends who usually supports me in everything. And I said, hey, do you know one person that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that you could put me in contact with today? Because today we're going to learn about social media, but if you want to be a successful salesperson or business owner, it's not just about social media. Social media is an endorsement of the daily activities you should be doing. And if you come to my sales course, we talk about that. We talk about the calls, the text messages, the emails, and the mailers, and the networking events, the relationships. Social media gives you omnipresence. And I kind of knew that from Body by Buy, but what my friend did for me was, in the moment, it didn't feel like he was serving me, but he ended up serving me, because he said, why would I send somebody to you to buy real estate? You don't even own real estate, and you've never sold real estate. I'm a feeler. That hurt my feelings. I got off the phone. I was like, how dare you? I've known you since 5th grade. I bailed you out of jail. That's what she but I was hurt. But then I had to sit back, take the emotion aside, be emotionally intelligent, and evaluate, what is he really saying? He's saying that you're not an authority in your realm. I'm also, and then I started evaluating, what do people know me as? They start knowing me as Alan in the fitness industry. And I think that a lot of new real estate agents, whether you know it or not, you're getting into a new industry and people know you from your past life. You have to change that story. How do we change that story? We're going to talk about one component of changing that story here today, because I realized really quickly, I need to change that story. So what did I start doing? I started going on social media every single day. This is before Yellow Brick had a marketing department. This is when I just had a cell phone, and I would pull up my cell phone and it would be the same opening every single day. My name is Alan Stewart Jr. I'm not your parents' real estate agent. I'm your full-time millennial real estate agent, and I'm here with you to keep it real estate. And then I would go on a rant of something that I learned that day. And what I learned that day usually came from a mistake that I made that day. I learned it the hard way. Now, why did I have that opening? I want to give you one piece of advice, and the panelists are going to come up and they're going to give you outstanding advice. But I'm going to give you advice. Be incredibly intentional with everything you do in this life. Okay? The reason why I said I am your full-time millennial real estate agent is because I created my own avatar. Who is my target market? When people come to me for coaching, or people come to me to be salespeople, I start building profiles around them, but I help them build profiles around their target market. I looked around when I got into real estate and I got denied by my best friend and said, well, who is it that I'm trying to sell to? And I evaluated and I said, I want to be a $1 million real estate agent that lists $1 million properties. And then I looked around and I said, well, that's what everybody wants to be. And my sphere of influence doesn't list $1 million properties. So who is the path of least resistance? And who does everybody not want to work with? This is back in 2015. This is before millennials were the biggest portion of the market. I started reading articles and they said millennials will be the biggest buyers. Most real estate agents did not want to work with buyers because it takes more time. Most real estate agents did not want to work with millennials because they're usually underqualified and they ask more questions. So I started saying, this is the target that I want. And I went out and I started launching a consistent campaign. It was not the best campaign. It was not a professional campaign. People made fun of me a lot behind closed doors, but I don't care, because who is laughing now? I don't care. My words were misspelled in my comment section or my write-ups. People would call me and tell me to correct them, but I was shaking and moving. I didn't have time to correct that. The point of the story that I'm saying is that real estate, whether you're just getting into real estate or you have been doing this for a while, social media is a great way that you can start to build and you can start to attract people that you specifically want. And I'm going to give you a couple specific examples, and then we're going to start to open up to the panel. So I was shooting videos consistently to my sphere of influence. And when I was meeting people, I was friending them on my own page. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was taking massive action. And friends were sharing it to other friends. And I'll never forget when I got a random call, and it was a girl from New York moving to Connecticut. And she said, I want to buy a house. And I showed her a bunch of multifamily. She came from an affluent family. They ended up buying a piece of land and building this multifamily. And I showed up on the site every single day. And that's when I started learning about construction and building. And do you think I was shooting a lot of videos about that? Every day. I wasn't creating content. I was just shooting what it is I was doing on a daily basis. So right then and there, if you don't know what to shoot, you are ready. Don't create the content, just live it. So I started learning about construction. She built the house. I got great material out of it. She was sharing it. Then one of her friends from New York wanted to move to Connecticut. They ended up buying a house. Years later, the husband got licensed. He works for me. He's one of the top realtors in my brokerage. You see, what we're doing here and talking about social media is a pathway, and you never know where it will lead you. But if you don't start, you will never get to the end. Now, I have a couple of panelists here today that are going to talk and share about their story with social media. How has it affected their life and their business? How have they used it to grow, but how have they been successful? How are they intentional? And where are their pain points? And I have a feeling that we will be talking about the fear barrier. But the message that I want to close with is today's training or today's panel will do nothing for you if we don't get over the fear barrier, that story that tells us that we shouldn't be posting. And just because you're posting doesn't mean you need to be in camera or in the photos every time. We'll learn that today. But also, once you start, you got to be consistent. And consistency looks different to different people. For some people, once a week is good enough. For some people, once a day is good enough. For some people, once an hour is good enough. So today, who we're going to hear from is... We're going to hear from, I'm going to start from the right and then go to the left. So we're going to hear from Alexa Scott. So Alexa Scott and I just met recently, but before I met her, I was following her on social media. I felt like I knew her already. I felt like this is a realtor that I wanted to do business with because she came across so professional and so articulate. So it was somebody that I definitely wanted to invite to this panel because I believe that she has a great message to share. So Alexa, if you'll come up and sit down, we'll give everybody everyone hopefully gives it. All right, outstanding. So we have Carrie. So I've watched Carrie. She's been in real estate for multiple years. I've watched her go from a medium-sized brokerage to joining a bigger brokerage and getting the support of a team to then opening up her own brokerage with Vinny. I know I was going to mention Vinny, but you know what I've watched that whole time? In the beginning, it was a little shaky, and then it started getting really, really consistent. They have a message on social media. They have a channel on social media with a specific message that they're going to be talking about here today. They have a consistency to stay in front of people and create that omnipresence. So let's welcome Carrie up here. The second to last person I want to introduce is Courtney McManus. Courtney McManus, I met here at the association when she first got into real estate. Now, if you can't tell by the photo, Courtney McManus looks like an elegant woman, but that wasn't always like that. She looked like a baby when I met her. Seriously, and she worked for a bigger brokerage. Now, Courtney, I'm a partner with her over at Yellowbrick. She works for Yellowbrick, has a team along with Moose, who's our final analyst. But the thing about Courtney is she has leveraged social media to not just get clients, but her social media presence, she in the last 2 years has been voted #1 for Property Spark, which is a social media platform that evaluates the top 50 social media relevant real estate agents in the state of Connecticut. But not only that, she then leverages that information to get more clients, but she's also won the National Association of Realtors 30 Under 30 YPN Award. And I have a feeling that her social media presence has a big to do with that as well. So welcome, Courtney. And then the final panelist is Aiken Musa. Aiken showed up late because that's just what Moose does. Moose, he dances to the beat of his own drum. And if you don't know that, you need to follow him on social media because his social media presence is different than everybody else, right? And I remember when Moose got into real estate at Yellowbrick, he was a part-time realtor, very quickly turned into a full-time realtor. That was before he was posting about real estate. Now his business is 100% referral driven, and a majority of that business comes from social media. And I won't add, he has not only been #1 on Property Spark social media platform, but also he's relevant. He was highlighted the following year. They made a special number for him. They didn't even rank him. They just said rising star in national social media. You need to pay attention to this guy. And then the following year, he was #2. I don't know how that's working out between you two, but you can do it out there. And then finally, he has leveraged his social media presence to appear on television shows, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but 5 times on HGTV. And he's done that by leveraging a free platform that we call social media. So welcome, Moose. So what I'm gonna ask you to do, I'm gonna take a seat, I'm gonna take a lot of notes because I love to learn. But what we're gonna do here today is they're gonna take 10 minutes each. And they're gonna talk a little bit about their experience with social media. And after that, we're just gonna open up to questions to people that are here physically, but also people in the Zoom room as well. So before I do that, thank you very much. This is our ghetto mic right here. We use this all the time when we do our events. So
Perfect.
that is your microphone right there. And let's open it up.
Great. Hi, everyone. As Alan so nicely introduced to you guys, I'm Alexis Scott. I'm a real estate agent with RE/MAX Alliance out of the Brantford office. I am born and raised Guilford, Connecticut. And I actually grew up in a family of realtors. I did not jump right into real estate. I actually went to college in Western Mass, and then I moved to Boston in a sales job for about 5 years. When I made the decision to get into real estate, which was a long decision, I realized I wanted to come back to Connecticut because this is where my sphere is. And also my dad is in real estate and he is my broker. So I had a ton of resources here in Connecticut. When I decided to make the move and get into real estate full time, I knew that I had to take advantage of social media. That was one of the first things. And I actually went back and forth with deciding, do I make my already existing social media that I used, Facebook and Instagram, just for fun, right? People just followed me with my friends, my family. Do I make that into my real estate page or do I make a separate real estate page? So I don't know if anyone in the room has considered that or has decided that. But I decided that, I had about 1,000 friends on Facebook and maybe 650 friends on Instagram. I realized it would be a massive waste of opportunity to not be promoting myself about my real estate career on these platforms. So my main goal when using my real estate career on these social media platforms was to let my sphere of influence know that I'm in real estate. So just as Alan was talking about before, you have to just let the people know that you're in it. So of course, we know we have to make our calls, we have to reach out to people that we know, but this was a very, very easy and free way to let people know, and you can have a much, much bigger reach, right? So my biggest thing, as Alan mentioned before, was I was scared. I was so insecure. All I posted before that was me hanging out with my friends, going out to dinner with my family, and now I'm a brand new agent. I don't know anything about real estate. I haven't sold a house. I've maybe talked to one buyer who was my mom. And I'm like, what am I supposed to post on here? How do I put myself out there like that? And, we're all humans. We're all so scared of what people think about us, failing, being rejected. What if someone writes that they don't like my post, or I don't look pretty, or I need to change something about myself? And that was stopping me for a while. And I said, you're just wasting time here. You are wasting opportunity, wasting money, and wasting a ton of clients. So very slowly, I started to post what I felt comfortable doing. I didn't start out saying, oh, I want to be this mega Instagram influencer and be this professional person. I just met myself where I was at. Now, luckily, I understand I knew how to use these social media apps. I know not everybody is super experienced with Instagram and Facebook, and I understand that. So I had some understanding of how to use it, and I started to just dive in slowly but surely. A big thing that I was taught early on was keeping a balance between business and personal. Now, because this was my personal and real estate page, I didn't want to turn people off from following me by just posting new listings and just sold. And I think that's really important. So I try to strike a balance so that if you were to pull up my Instagram today, you should be able to see something, a personal post of mine within the last 3 posts. Okay, I try not to inundate with all real estate because people get bored by that, right? You wanted to strike a balance where people are excited when you post about real estate and they cheer you on and they support you, but they really get to know who you are by posting your personal stuff as well. So I started to get a little more comfortable, right? Maybe I'd post a picture of me with a just sold sign in front of a house. Again, my first client was my mom, and she bought an investment property, and I didn't share that on social media, but it was me in front of the house. I sold my first house.
Did Dad give that or?
Yeah, well, he's part of the brokerage, you gotta cut. So, I'm really excited, and I got an immense amount of positive feedback when I posted my just sold post on my first sale ever. And then I'm realizing, everyone's doing these Instagram reels. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about Instagram reels. And that was way out of my comfort zone. These people that do these videos on Instagram, oh my God, they look so good. These crazy transitions and their makeup is perfect. And, I really tried to, just start getting into it. So I started posting them, and what started happening was I started getting really positive feedback. So the opposite of what I thought people would be commenting all these terrible things. I'd be so embarrassed. I would run into people in the coffee shop, someone I hadn't seen since high school, and they were like, "Hey, Alexa, I saw that video. I loved it." I'm like, "What? You saw my video? I haven't seen you since high school. You follow?" Because mind you, I had these followers that had continued to follow me since before I was in real estate. And that made me feel really good. And that gave me a lot of confidence to keep going, right? Of course, my mom is commenting on every single video. "Amazing, sweetie." And I'm like, "That's Mom."
Yeah.
It started to not just become my mom.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And so what I really tried to do was continue to push myself with the types of posts and the types of content that I was putting out there. Now, my piece of advice I have 2 pieces of advice that I want to share with you guys today. The first thing is, if you're struggling with what do I post and how do I get creative, it's follow other real estate agents on social media. Instagram, it's so easy to do. And once you start following other realtors, let me tell you, they are going to flood your feed with other realtors, okay? And you're going to get content coming at you. So I started saving posts that I liked, kind of recreating things that I like, but putting my own spin on it. Now, not only did that give me ideas to get creative, but it made me feel more confident because I'm seeing other people doing it. Other than before that, my feed is just family and friends hanging out, going out, doing whatever they're doing. And I felt so different, and I felt so insecure to be putting out this type of content. And once I started doing that, I'm like, oh, okay, I like what that realtor did. So I started following a realtor in Utah, a realtor in Florida, and it gave me amazing ideas, and it made me feel not alone posting these types of things. So that's my big piece of advice. Follow other agents that you like, because everyone in this room has a different style. All of these panelists, we all have very different styles, but it obviously works. So that is what I recommend, is follow other realtors. My second piece of advice is get out of your own way. You are the only person that's stopping you from posting. No one's going to tell you to not post. You don't have to pay for it. So just do it. And once you start doing it, 1, you're going to feel more comfortable. 2, you're going to learn. You're going to get better at using these apps. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to try new things. So just don't stop yourself. Okay. Now I can tell you right now, if you open my Instagram app, the number of saved videos I have that I recorded and never posted because I'm still insecure all of the time. Every time I click post, I'm blush and I'm nervous and I check how many views there are. Yeah, I still do it for sure. but you gotta just keep going. And I really recommend setting a goal for yourself. Alan actually mentioned that before, your consistency and how often you do it. Maybe it's once a week, maybe you start at a certain goal, but really try to give yourself a number to hold yourself accountable, because it is so easy to just not post. Okay, so that's my advice. Try to get out of your own way, start getting comfortable. And I'm going to leave you with one story. As I said in the beginning, my goal in social media was to let my sphere know that I'm in real estate. Okay, this past year, 2022. Now, mind you, I got into real estate September of 2021. So I'm coming up on 2 years this September. So I'm still a newer agent. My goal was to just let my sphere know I'm in real estate. I wasn't necessarily looking to get, leads from strangers on social media. 2022, 90% of my business came from my sphere of influence. And I can guarantee you over 50% of those people were not people that I was actively talking to actively in my life. They were because they saw my posts and they reached out. Last night, I got an Instagram message from this girl I went to high school with, nice girl. We weren't even in the same group of friends, literally have not spoken to her since high school. Sent me a message last night. Hey, Alexa, my husband's looking to buy an investment property. You were the first person I thought of. Can you talk and meet with him tomorrow? I'm like, great, of course, let's do it. And that would not have come into my inbox if I wasn't posting so consistently and so regularly. And yeah, I try to show myself as professional and that I know what I'm doing and creating that trust, right? So you got to make these people know, like, and trust you. So you be you. Everyone up here is as authentic as we can be. And you just roll with that and just keep on it. And that's my best advice. Thanks so much.
Thank you. After this, I'm going to send an email out to everybody that's ever attended a board event, and their social media links will be on it, so you can follow them. Also, for you in Zoom, Shah, can you please drop Alexa Scott's social media event or her links, so you can follow her as well. So thank you.
So what Alexa said, everybody have a good day. Pretty much, literally, I'm gonna just say all that she said, but that's okay. So I'm Carrie Vespreener. I started in real estate in 2003. So I'm going on 20 years in September. So so I started as an administrative assistant. I did that for years. I learned the ins and outs of the business. And then I ended up working with bank foreclosures, fun stuff. Yeah, very different, but good to know. I met Vinny in the REO department. I got my real estate license, and from there it was, just kind of plugging along with all the stuff I knew, trying to figure it out, learning different things from different people. You can always pick up like a little tidbit from somebody. So I did that. We went to a different brokerage, learned some stuff there. Now I'm at Advise Realty, and we're almost coming on a year there, April 8th, which is very cool, very exciting. So for me, my biggest thing with social media that I learned was before as a realtor. So I was working as an administrative assistant. My husband at the time got laid off. It was early November. I'm like, okay, right before the holidays, right before Christmas. What are we going to do? Very, very nervous. Like, I need to do something else. I was not ready to be an agent yet. So at that point, I was trying to think, like, what am I good at? How can I make extra money? What can I do? I can't be a waitress. I'm clumsy. That would never work for me. So I have a best friend who is a photographer. And so every now and then I would do hair and makeup for her photo shoots. So I did that, again, hardly ever. But I was like, well, maybe I can make that into something. So I talked to her. I said, listen, I need to make more money. I want to.
Good.
Rachel will take care of it.
Okay. So I talked to my friend. I said, I kind of want to do this more. I want to make money doing this. What should I do? So I made a Facebook page. This was maybe 2010, 2011. So I made a Facebook page, and of course, kind of the whole mom thing. My mom loved every post. Like, I had a few friends on there, and I'm like, okay, these people, they're not who I'm trying to go after here. What do I do? So then I was like, okay, I need people to be engaging with me on social media. So I had an idea to do like a celebrity lookalike. So I put it out there and I said, if you know somebody who looks like a celebrity, one, like my page, two, post their photo and then the celebrity, and then have them like my page. Just like my page, like my page. So that was the beginning part of it. And then I was like, okay, now I want to expand it further. So I said, whoever gets the most likes and comments, you will win a free photo shoot. Luckily, my friend was in on it. I will do your hair and makeup. We're going to make you look like this celebrity. It's going to be really fun. The amount of engagement I got from that was ridiculous. And that was just like thinking outside of the box, really. So that took off. So I started doing, like I said, hair and makeup here and there, to being flown to Napa Valley for a wedding to do hair and makeup for a whole bridal party. So yeah, so it was pretty cool. So that showed me right there early on in the earlier Facebook days for me that you could really leverage your social media if you engage with people. The second thing that really sticks out in my mind would be the beginning of COVID. So here we are at COVID, nobody can leave, nobody could do anything. Vinny and I were representing 193 luxury apartments that we had to lease out. So we did our thing normally, the first two buildings, whatever. So the last building happens to be, it's open, grand opening of this last building, and it's COVID. We can't go, we're not allowed in the building. Nobody else can go in the building. Well, luckily, we had already done a ton of videos just because that's what we did. We would do walkthroughs of all the apartments. We would do little videos talking, hey, here I am today. Want to show you the new cabinets that they just put in, whatever the case may be. We just were there. We're talking about it. We had all of this already. I know a lot of people started doing videos during COVID because you had to do like video walkthroughs for clients. We had all of that in our pocket. We leased out pretty much the entire building when nobody can even walk in the door because we had all of that. So it was pretty amazing. Like, we're like, well, wow, we were already prepared for this, you know, screw you, COVID. You know, it just didn't affect us. So one of the biggest things that I would say as far as doing videos, because obviously, like Alexa said, everyone has a different comfort level. And I remember actually when we were at this new construction, we had people coming in from our company. They wanted to do new agent videos there. So there was a woman who came in and she was just going to talk about herself in this video. So she wrote it all down on a piece of paper, all about herself. And I said to her, because we weren't staying to watch, we were just getting them set up. I said, don't read off of that paper. Whatever you do, don't read. Just talk about yourself. Just say, have an idea in your head and talk. I watched the video later. She was reading. I was like, no, you know, if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay. We talk to strangers all the time, every day. That's part of our job. So even if, let's say you and I are doing a video right now and I'm nervous and I don't feel comfortable. In the video, I could say to you, ask me questions, pretend you're a buyer, right? So you ask me whatever, you know, what is FHA? Right. And I would just talk to you and say, well, FHA, it's a type of loan. And I would just talk to you as if I was talking to a buyer. You can then take that video. I'm going to cut you out asking me questions and I could post that. Just talk. You don't have to make it a big production. I also like a big production. So we do all those fun big things where we did a Halloween video and a Walker video. I like that too. But, you know, there's times where I'm like walking out of the grocery store. It's almost dark out. I look like crap and I'll just get on there because I just had a conversation standing in line about real estate. So I'll be like, hey, everyone, just want to let you know, I was just in line and this happened and it was kind of crazy. So you could do all different levels of it, but just talk. Don't script it out. Have an idea of what you're going to say. Vinny and I, we do a green lights video. When we first started doing that years ago, we had a script. We would memorize it. They were not good. Now we think of an idea. What's our topic? Okay, we're going to talk about home inspections, whatever. And then we just go back and forth and it's natural. It's so, I know that's my biggest thing. It's just, you're all great. I've known agents who are amazing, wonderful people in real life, successful. I watch their videos and they look like this because they're reading something or they're trying to talk and they sound like a robot. Don't do that. Just be you. I know, that's my biggest thing. Just be yourself. You know, so that's great.
Hey everyone, I am Courtney McManus. I am one of the 2 team leaders for the Making Moves team at Yellow Brick Real Estate. I've been at Yellow Brick kind of since the beginning. I was probably one of their first handful of agents. I've been doing real estate now I've had my license for 6 years, but realistically I've been selling for 5. Took me a little bit to get the ball rolling. I was super young when I got into real estate. I was 21, 22 years old, straight out of college. I was actually on my way to law school. I went to school for law. I got my, degree in college. It was a legal studies degree. I got a scholarship to law school and I was on my way. But I realized I was really excited to tell people I was going to law school and I wasn't really excited to actually go to law school. So I had to really take a long look in the mirror and say to myself, do I really want to take out a 200,000 plus loan just to impress people, right? Do I really want to essentially pay to hate my life? I was living the life in college up till this. So the idea of, throwing all that away and just going straight into law school was kind of daunting. Had some friends whose parents were really well off in college. And I would say to them like, geez, what do your parents do for work? And a lot of them said real estate. I had no family in the field whatsoever. All my family is in law enforcement. So you could imagine how the phone call went when I called my parents to say, hey, I want to be a real estate agent. I'm going to give up law school. They cut me off completely. They loved me. That was great. But financially, I was completely cut off. They spent the last 20 plus years doing everything they could to get me into law school. And I made that decision to give that up. So I respected their decision, but it made my start pretty hard, right? Because you have to pay for the association, the dues, your license, it's expensive. So I started part-time as a assistant for a super successful real estate agent in the area. She was a little bit more old school than my type of vibe, but what did I know? I knew nothing about real estate at the time. So that's kind of what I thought real estate was what I was learning from her and shadowing her on. So I eventually turned into a referral agent for her because that's all I could afford. I physically couldn't afford to be a part of an association, pay desk fees. I had $10 to my name and I'll never forget that. So I had to kind of make a decision. I got to make this work now. I've already given up law school. So what am I going to do? Right. And how can I afford to do this? I'm seeing a lot of real estate agents on the sides of buses and billboards. And again, with $10, it's not going to really get me very far. So I resorted to social media. I had a relatively good following as, a millennial college girl at the time. I think I maybe had like 3,000 or 2,000 followers at the time. So I had a good base. But it was really just gaining that confidence now to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I knew social media was the only route I really could afford to go. It was the only free platform I could use that could hopefully boost my business. So I kind of just had to be really realistic about it and say to myself, who is going to use a 21 or 22-year-old to buy or sell a house? You have to be realistic about it at the end of the day. You can work as hard as you want, but you have to bring some sort of experience. You have to bring something to the table to show that you're an authoritative figure in this field, right? So I took to social media. I just started, posting things here and there. And I quickly realized that the team that I was on, the place that I was at, just was not going to work for what I needed to be successful in my career. This woman had built a career, selling hundreds of homes, but she built it in a totally different time. I was 20 years old at the time. So what was working for her just clearly was not going to work for me. Luckily, I had just, made the decision to start putting myself out there and meeting people in the field. Again, no family in the field whatsoever. So I needed to start meeting people, making relationships, discovered the YPN, and I started coming to the YPN. At this point, I was an assistant for her. I was a bartender. I was a nanny. I was Uber driving. Little 21-year-old me was Uber driving. Okay. You can imagine my parents.
I know as a mom, I'm like, oh my God.
Literally. Working on the party I think I was working 5 or 6 jobs all at one time, but it was not enough. So I needed to do something, right? I was working at a gym and the instructor he knew I was trying to find somewhere else to go. And he said, well, you should reach out to my friend Moose. He's doing really well. He's at this new company. So when I looked up Moose, I noticed that he was at the same company as Alan, who was, really running these YPN meetings at the time. So I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, sounds like a good company to me. I'm gonna make the switch. So I left from the bigger company, went and interviewed with Alan at Yellow Brick. And, you know, eventually met Moose, and that's where we started our partnership. But it was really me making those active decisions to put myself out there and put myself in positions where I could meet people that would want to help me, you know? I didn't know I could go to a brokerage that doesn't charge a desk fee. I didn't know I could go to a brokerage that covers your E&O insurance. I didn't know these things when I first started. So it was a lot more affordable for me to join this company, but also they were helping me get the tools that I needed to really, you know, get the ground running, get the ball rolling. So once it came to social media, Moose had kind of already had a little bit of a head start. He's a little bit older than me. So realistically, he had more clientele. So people my age just weren't buying houses yet. So I realized there was an opportunity with Moose here. I said to him, you know, you got so much business coming in, there's not enough hours in the day. And between you and I have $10 to my name. So what can I do to help you? You know, where I'll also be compensated too as well. And that's kind of where our relationship started as partners. But I was able to kind of use a lot of his success as my crutch. So every single time Moose had a closing, I would say, all right, we got to go to that house and get a closing picture. I wasn't even the agent on the deal. And I'd be like, take my picture in front of the house. Sold side. But I was lucky enough to have a partner that like allowed me to do that. You know, some companies you go to, people don't want you cramping their style or stealing their stuff. So you gotta find someone that genuinely, you know, wants to help you or someone that you can benefit from. So that's kind of why we started our team, where we give our agents the opportunity to do the same thing, where they can, you know, use some of our success as a crutch for them. They don't necessarily have to say, I sold this home, but they can say, just sold this home. Just if people take that as my agent sold that house, then that's on them, you know? So I realized that that's what was helping me grow, was kind of using a lot of Moose's success to show people, because to your points too, who's going to want to buy a house from someone that they've never seen sold a house before? You just have to be, or you could be the most passionate person, show up to the office every single day. But if you're not actively showing people, hey, I'm closing deals, I'm showing houses, I'm doing a listing appointment, they're not going to think of you when they think real estate. And that was my biggest goal, was when people think real estate, I need them to think Courtney. I know so many people, but again, no one knows me as, you know, a real estate professional. They know me as a little college girl, the old cheerleader, you know? So I really kind of use that to my benefit. The three things that I always follow is motivation, consistency, confidence when it comes to social media. So you need the motivation, right? To be consistent, to gain confidence. And that's always been my biggest thing. Is I'm assuming you guys are all here, you're likely pretty motivated, right? So use that motivation to keep the consistency up. I personally like to always have an Instagram story on, always. So when people go to my page, there's always something they can see that I'm actively doing right now. To Alexa's point, maybe it's not always real estate. I love fashion, I love food, I love traveling, and I don't like to just specifically post social media. I think that will be a huge disservice to you guys if you're only posting social media or posting real estate, I'm sorry. Because most people, they don't care. I mean, everyone needs a place to live, but if you're not in the real estate field, you really don't care. So again, you just kind of want to stay on top of everyone's mind. So once they're at a point in their life where they do care about real estate, they need to make a move. I'm going to be the first one they think about. So that's always been my thing, is consistency really is the biggest thing, and remaining relevant. You don't want to just keep blasting out, just sold, just listed, post stuff that other people are going to care about, so that you keep that following and you gain that following, and then try different things. Maybe if you being on the camera gets you more likes and views, then put yourself on the camera more, you know? If you doing stuff that breaks down numbers for potential buyers works for you, keep doing that. But you got to try a couple different things to see what really works for you. I found that putting my face on stuff and like me and Moose being in a picture together got me a lot more likes and views and feedback and shares than me just posting a picture of a house saying I just sold this house. So that's what I got for you guys today. I know Alan said he's going to plug everyone's social medias at the end of this, but if you want to follow me now, at Court McManus.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
You know, maybe everyone in here is a hustler, so I feel like I could have a more unconventional conversation. And one thing that I'll say is that I'm gonna go a little back. I'm gonna go far back. Not that far back, but come. So a lot of people see me on social media, right? But like the very unpopular opinion, I'm actually a very private person. I share a lot, but like I don't share all of it, right? So let's go back to college. 2006 to 2010, I was went to UConn. And one of the first assignments in my class was to start a Facebook and a Twitter, and I failed that class because I didn't do it.
You know
I
what
did
you
not
want?
like social media. I was not a fan of social media. I'm a super private person. I don't want to see these moves that I'm making. I want people to see what I'm doing. Like, who's following? Like, you're gonna follow me? Like, that's weird. So I'm talking like senior year. I had broken up with this girl, and then she started dating my roommate. And then they had made me a Facebook and were responding to people like me. So I was like, nah, that's weird. So I'm gonna just take that over. And that's when I got Facebook. Was senior year in college, being like, yeah, I'm like trying to shut this thing down. And then I was in the teaching field. So I was West Haven Child Development Center. I was working with kids with behavioral issues, disorders, autism, the whole nine. And I was integrating kids into a kindergarten classes with kids with disorders and non-disorders and a whole integration class. And when I got that job, I posted, hey, I'm a new teacher. And I got 72 likes. And I was like, holy shit, that's like a lot of likes. That's like a lot of likes. And then my next post was like, anybody want to party? 0 likes. And then I was like, wow, it's so wild. Like when you post your success, people tend to like that. When you post success, people are like, oh, that's cool. So that was one thing. I was like, I gotta start posting more success. I just got this new job. It doesn't pay well, whatever. I didn't start getting bored, but I started getting into a mode where I was just like what am I doing with my life? But these kids are awesome. And I love kids. I love working as this teacher. So I started making statuses about the kids, but like funny things that we were doing all the time. So it was like, kid 1, Mr. Ken, because they used to call me Mr. Ken. Mr. Ken, can you like pick up this Play-Doh? Kid 2, the Play-Doh smells. Kid 3, that's not Play-Doh. Mr. Ken, I now have to wipe this poop off the floor. I was just making funny statuses. And this teacher that started being known for like just being the fun teacher, right? So I was like this funny teacher, but like again, you saw, I was like, man, that guy like is really like, he must love his life. He's like both these kids having a good time. I was like drowning out I was like negative $100 in my bank account every single week because I was getting like $250 a week from this job I was teaching these kids 52 weeks out of the year. And so I had always, again, that hustler mentality. I've always been on the hustle side. So I was a bartender. I was working at another restaurant. I was trying to get another job. I mean, I was doing everything. I was selling drugs. I was doing everything. Just weed. But it was, that's what I'm saying, Uncle Vector, baby, we're all hustlers. So the wild thing was, again, I was trying so hard to like, just make money. I had always had this interest in real estate. I always loved it. And I always loved selling. Another quick fun story. The first sale I ever had, and I promise you, this is a real story. You have to ask my mom this question. So as opposed to a lemonade stand, I was 5 years old, and it was like the first time I remember seeing like leaves on the ground. I remember being like, yo, these leaves are changing colors. And then I set a lemonade stand, at least set a leaf stand, and I sold 5 bundles of leaves. See how that transitions? I sold 5 bundles of leaves for a nickel, and I was able to make 5 sales. And I bought a honey bun from Durante's up the street. And like that was my first sale. I was like, wow, I'm good at selling stuff. So fast forward again, college, girlfriend, break, all that now. Like I really like real estate. I like selling stuff. I'm like, I need to figure this out. And I am on my back of a taxi in Miami after fighting my way to get this PTO. And Fred Moore calls me and he's like, hey man, I'm like calling my sphere of influence. Like you looking to buy a house? And I'm like, ha, not even close. I don't even know how I made it to where I am right now. But like in like a week, if I ever make it back from here, I would love to like start selling. So fast forward, all this jazz, I end up meeting Alan, and this is a great story because your videos are the entire reason that I started doing videos, because I was like, these are bad. I was like, I think I can do like just a little bit better. Cause I was like, I mean, but it was the coolest thing to see, because being like, you know, one of the first in the brokerage, I remember being like, that was bad. I was just like, he's just doing something different. You're not seeing that out there. And I like doing something different. So like 2016, I came out part-time, 2017 left in January. And now I was like, you know, jumping into this thing full time. What do I do? How do I do it? How do I change from being the funny teacher making these statuses to like a real estate agent who's looking to make these sales? And being one of the first people that I really interacted with, Fred Moore being my mentor, and again coming to interaction with you, it was the funniest thing, because I was like, I'm just gonna do the same shit. So then like I started doing these videos, and the one thing I noticed is, and I thought was one of the coolest things, whenever I went somewhere and I was repping Yellow Brick hardcore, someone would just be like, do you know Alan? I was like, yeah, I know. Oh, cool. Because that's Yellow Brick. I was like, that's great. And then fast forward to even now, people are like, same questions when they come up to us. They're like, yo, I met this person named Moose, like Moose is in Yellow Brick. Honestly, it's such a great transition, I think, because again, the idea is perception is reality, and social media, whatever you put out there on social media, whatever you want to put out there can become the reality in a sense, and whatever the reality you want, right? So the reality of my life was I want to make a bunch of sales. So I'm going to put out a bunch of real estate content, but like, I don't want to be this like real estate machine. I want to post stuff that's also me, but also like private. So I don't like post everything, like, but like, I want to like do stuff. I'm just going to try to be funny, because that seems like a good way. And again, with Alan's help and Alan's videos, I was like, I'm like funny enough. So then I started doing this thing called Mondays with Moose, to try and hone into like just a day where I was doing this content. And I discovered after Mondays with Moose, I wasn't getting that many likes, wasn't getting that much stuff, but it was just the one or the two, three. It didn't matter how many likes you got, as long as someone saw it. And even if you had one view, that one view was a potential person that was, so I was pumping these videos, pumping every single Monday. And I was still getting clientele. Yellow Brick had trusted me enough at the beginning to start paying for these leads for me. So I was busy from the jump. I had my sphere already from the funny like teacher stuff. That's right. I had my funny like it'll be bad. We planned. But it was just, I was trying to garner and gain content to just kind of push through, and I didn't want to be this real estate robot. So I started doing Mondays with Moose, started trying to implement different things that I was doing, talk about my day. And I also was not trying to waste my time. I'm going to these places because as real estate agents, we're driving to like, I went to Manchester for 10 minutes. It was Manchester for 10 minutes. So, I mean, if I'm going there, I'm going to post out in Manchester. I'm going to be like, these are the top 10 things to do in Manchester, right? I'm going to check in on Facebook and Manchester. I'm going to go there and not waste my time. We all have clients that sometimes tend to waste our time. So I went and I was Mondays with Moose with a client. I swear, I was like, they're not buying this house. They're wasting my time. They're wasting the contractor's time because they wanted to pull out and do a 2 or 3K thing. So I take a video of the entire thing. I stitch this video together. And my clients who I wasn't aware of who they were, they're like, oh, man, that's a cool video. Can you tag us on Instagram when you post that? I was like, sure. I tagged them and they're like, man, that reminds us of something. That reminds us of the House Hunters on HGTV. I was like, the correlation there makes no sense, but okay. They're like, you know what? We're going to apply to be on House Hunters. I was like, you're never going to happen because we're not even buying this house. So don't know what we're doing here. They apply and they immediately, because I didn't know their story, but they immediately get an answer back because their story was wild. I literally didn't know their story. So we're going through those motions, and the way House Hunters works is, people apply, and then you have to do an interview, and then you have to pass the written interview, and then you go to the FaceTime interview, the whole nine. We're talking like 3 weeks later after our conversation, and that's still not putting an offer on any of these houses. They were like, we want to put an offer on the house that we saw before. And also B, you're gonna get a phone call from HGTV because we did land this show. We landed this spot. I was like, what the fuck? And then HGTV calls, and they're like, we're gonna do this FaceTime interview, but we're literally just calling you to make sure you're not a psychopath. And I was like, but they're like, they turned the cameras on, and again, they had our interview, and then they turned the cameras off, and I just kept talking. And I just didn't stop talking. I just kept talking. They're like, all right, man, like, the camera's been off for like 45 minutes, but like, we're just intrigued with what you got to say, and we really like you. So we're gonna just confirm this now. You're definitely gonna be on the show, but like, go through the motions, and you're probably not gonna get too much FaceTime on the first episode, and you're probably not gonna get any other episode after anyway. So just remember, this is like your 15 seconds. And then again, the producer came, the casting director was there, just a good match of people. And it was a really, really good episode. That episode, they let me know yesterday as well, because I was on the phone with them again, is one of the highest rated episodes that they have. And it's one of the only episodes in Connecticut that they replay. And that was the first, thank you. That was that's the first one. And then again, fast forward, and they're like, that was really good. So if you want to bring any clients on, then you have the ability to do so. And again, in a wild way, but the truth of it is social media and making videos drove me into that. And that's just one lane of my business. Was that it's the smallest lane of my business, actually, because I just have 5 episodes. I mean, I have like 100 plus closings. So it's like the thing that's cool about the HGTV is it drove this like engine, but like what really sparked the flame was me posting these videos and putting myself out there. Confidence is only gained by doing something over and over again. Consistency is a factor. So you have to be able to put yourself out there. And believe me when I say it, it doesn't take much. Literally does not take a lot. And I think that the whole comfort zone thing, the breaking out of that, is so important, because if you're in this business and you're not on social media, what are you doing? Like I would love to know what you're doing, because if you aren't at least doing social media, you are cutting out a massive section of our business. And as hustlers that we are, you should take full advantage of this thing, this free engine that's going to be able to pivot and leverage your business all the way. And again, there's so many different ways that you can go about it. So I call it real estate the wide wild west, the wide wild west. But that is the same exact thing that social media is as well. So let's hone in on that and make all the moves.
All right, so at this time, I just want to introduce Christina. Christina's from Ask Insurance. Ask Insurance is the sponsor of today's event. They provided the food outside, so let's give Christina. You guys don't know, if you don't know her, please go meet with her. She's one of the sponsors of the RAMP program as well. They have over 50 carriers, and they service a lot of the agents' book of business in this room. And you can get some endorsements from that. So please go out there, grab some food, and come right back. Start to eat, because I'm going to give you guys like 7 to 10 minutes to just grab the food, come back, get settled in back here. And then as we're eating, we're going to start opening up to questions, because we have about 50 minutes left, and we'll do an open panel. And you can ask any questions that you want. And then the last 10 minutes, what I'll do is come up and close out the panel. So if you don't have any questions, you haven't taken any notes, now's the time. I got a ton of value out of what they were talking about. And we're gonna open this up to questions, but I just wanted to point out something. And actually one of my friends, Flory, pointed this out as well. And it reminds me back to when we were in kindergarten, when we were young, right? We're all here to learn. And when we go to school, what were our favorite times of learning? We would go to school, and in kindergarten, for me, it was the storytelling part of it. You'd sit on the checkered rug, and it would have ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. and the teacher would be in the front and they would tell a story, and the story usually had a principle of it, right? And then my second favorite part, or actually equally as favorite, was the show and tell. So we just have the storytelling part, and now we're gonna go over the show and tell. Because we heard their story and how it's impacted their careers, but now we're gonna open it up to questions where we can start to get into the meat and potatoes and start to really dissect this. What does this look like? What are the strategies? What are the tactics? Now, I'm gonna open that up for about 30 minutes for people, our Zoom, people on Zoom, but also our people here and in person. We're gonna start with the people in person because you took the energy to come out here. And then I'm gonna go into the Zoom chat. I already see there's a couple of questions in there, and we're gonna ask questions there. And then I'm gonna close it up at the end with the last 10 minutes, and we're gonna wrap it up. Does that sound good? Woo! All right, outstanding. So thank you for the panelists for having the courage to come here in person. And then, does anybody in here have a question?
So, you guys were talking about Instagram and Facebook more to me. What about TikTok?
So the question was, just so, I hope everyone can hear it, is what about other platforms, TikTok? Anybody can, we're gonna have two panelists answer each question, and then the next, and rotate, the next question will be answered by other two. But if you have a question for a specific panelist, pull that person right out.
You looked excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, do you guys have TikTok?
Yeah.
Right? And do you guys use your TikTok?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you crushing on TikTok, by the way, so that's what, no, I mean, you're definitely crushing it. If you guys don't know, she's like famous on TikTok. So, yeah, literally.
Yeah, I would do like what works for you. So I would be on all platforms. For me, Instagram's what works best. So that's where I put most of my energy. But if you're popping off on TikTok, put most of your energy into TikTok. But I would still use those and post your TikTok on your Instagram story. Right now, like throw some stuff on your LinkedIn. I've closed deals through Snapchat.
Yeah, Yeah.
Wow.
oh, yeah.
I have a quick question about it, though. Are you using the same videos and still photos across multiple platforms when you're cross-referencing platform? Or are you creating brand new content for each? Because I know as realtors, we're extremely busy driving around, doing the 167 touch points from contract to close. So what does that look like?
So you shouldn't, the way the platform and the algorithm works for TikTok and then Instagram, not Facebook and not YouTube, but the way the algorithm works for that, if you have the watercolor from your Instagram and it puts you, you're not gonna get as much engagement on TikTok. If you have a TikTok watercolor on Instagram, you're not gonna get as much engagement. Facebook and YouTube actually don't matter. So the best route to go is if you're making the reel on TikTok to save the reel previous to posting it. And then adding it in with like it's the same song or sound that you could find on TikTok and just doing it like that.
So it doesn't go across to Instagram having TikTok on.
Right.
So just for clarity, for those of us that are not familiar with multiple platforms, it sounds like what you're saying, Moose, is you go onto TikTok, you shoot a video because it's mainly a video platform. You record the video, then download the video and then re-upload it to the next.
Right.
Rather than transfer by shooting it on TikTok and then saying share to Instagram.
Right.
And linking the two accounts.
The best route to go is to just. do
When
it.
you download, you said watercolor, I think you mean watermark, right? So by watermark, when you download the video, does it imprint a watermark from TikTok? And does that push away your views?
The answer is yes. But if you are in the process of making the video on Instagram, you could save the video with it doesn't save any audio. Because you're talking in the video or you're not doing a talking video. With a lot of your stuff that you do, it's the voice, it's the sound overs, right? So you can edit your video on Instagram, save it, and then save with no audio. And then you post your video on Instagram. And then because it's already downloaded and saved from your Instagram, you can then post on TikTok. Does that make sense?
So you're essentially recycling that first video that you originally made, you're now recycling that into the different platforms in ways that works for those platforms.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The answer is yes, we do all use TikTok.
Yes.
You know?
And your name, to say the name of the TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys should be following each other. And by the way, one plug that I didn't say, like now is an opportunity to go on your story, whatever social platform you're on, take a couple of stories. You know, you literally your day is your content. This is what I'm doing to better myself. So if you go on my social media, I've probably posted 10 stories since 4 in the morning already. So-
421 to be exact.
421, yeah.
I watched it.
You're on 21? Oh, 421. So you watched my device.
You said it was.
What was I doing at 421 in the morning?
You were eating Chinese.
Fair enough.
Extension.
But I just wanted to give you that opportunity. You're here, you're now, you have content. Push it up there. You don't need to, and if you have questions, please ask them. And if you don't, I've ran many panels. I can ask strategic questions that maybe you're afraid to ask, right? Like, because for some of us, we're not comfortable getting in front of the camera. I have realtors that work in my brokerage that blow it up on social media and they never step in front of the camera. They're constantly doing walkthroughs or taking photos of houses and things like that. So really quickly, when we're talking, can someone else talk about that? Like, what does that look like if you're not at the point where you're comfortable with video yet? What are some strategies that maybe I'm an entry level person? How can I leverage social media to let people know, hey, this is what I do?
One thing, I know we all kind of mentioned it, it's to be an agent, everyone knows we sell houses. That's what we do. Like, we have a little thing that we say all the time, like, you're the mail delivery person. We know you deliver mail. Okay, you go, you open the mailbox, you put it in. Yay. Do we want to watch a video every day of the mailman walking over? No, but do we want to hear the stories maybe behind the letters or the dog that greets him every day? You know, stuff like that. It's the personal things. So if you don't feel comfortable being in the video, that's okay. You just had a closing. So you're gonna post, I just closed on this house and yay, closed on a house. Or you could do a picture, closed on this house today. This family, you know, they've been waiting forever to move to Florida. They couldn't, their son was here, son's off in college, it's been their dream. Tell the story. Tell your clients like why did they move? Why are they, get personal. If you get personal with your stuff like that, it's more engaging. And I think that there's a lot of value in that.
So it sounds like what you're saying, Carrie, is that you will post a still photo and in the caption, tell the story.
Yes.
Right? Now, do you have any strategies in regards to caption writing? Like, should I put it all in one big sentence, one big paragraph? Should I break it apart so it's digestible? You know,
So yeah, and you don't want it to be so much that people aren't going to read through the whole thing. So it's kind of like the key points, you know, like I said, break it up a little bit, and then you want to just do different hashtags. I do a lot of the same hashtags, but I will mix it up a little bit too. Like selling CT, you know, realtors of Instagram, whatever it is, your hashtags that you think maybe people are looking at, or investing, you know, CT investors, you know, whatever. So you want to do your hashtags to try to get more people to come to your page as well. But when you do that story, make sure you are tagging the sellers, the agent that you worked with, you know, whatever, because then they're going to take your story and they're going to share it. And then the other person's going to share it. And now you're really reaching a lot of people by that one post. So.
I have another quick question, and maybe someone, one of the next panelists can answer it. And again, interrupt. If you have questions, I'm just not seeing any hands go up, right? And I'm gonna, in a couple of minutes, walk over to the Zoom, but I know that there's a bunch of, let's say, I believe there's a way, and I'm exploring new options to not always be in front of the camera, but can we post a photo and then do a voiceover and just have the photo and tell that story? So it's an engaging single photo with a voiceover, maybe a little music or whatever as we grow on social media. And also have that caption in there as well. So we're not in front of the camera, something is being said though. Is that a possibility?
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Pretty much anything's possible. I was actually gonna say two things. So, and I don't want to go too in depth with different technologies, but about the question about captions. Has anyone in the room either heard of or used ChatGPT? So you should look it up. It's free service. I've started using it for my email newsletter headlines, caption making. They can help you automate what you want to put for your captions. It's a completely free service. So you can say, you literally write out, write me a caption for a post about a closing with a husband and wife and 2 kids moving from Florida to Connecticut. You can be as specific as you want. It will literally automate the caption for you. If you don't like it, say, make this more fun. Make this, you can really have them make it detailed for you. Maybe Alan, if you want, at the end, you can give out the link. ChatGPT, right?
Yep.
ChatGPT.
And after this, I'm definitely gonna send a follow-up email, probably within the next 24 hours of what my notes are. But also some references, and this isn't a plug but to Alexa's original point, actually everyone's original point, if you follow other real estate agents on social media, they are utilizing these things as
Yeah.
well. And there are tons of, you know, I know I do things outside of this association where I do trainings on things like this, like artificial intelligence. How do we leverage it to blow up our business? More sophisticated information. So thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not super high tech. This is a super easy piece of technology. You literally just type exactly what you want and it gives you the answer and you copy and paste it and you use it. It's also free. So that's a little bit about captions. I try not to go too long in captions because I know myself, if someone has a long caption, I just scroll right past it. I don't want to read it. So I try to keep it really short and sweet. And then something else I do, I know Courtney does this a lot too, but on your Instagram stories, if you don't feel comfortable putting your face on it, I take videos of homes that I'm touring with clients and people love it. And then you can do something on Instagram where I do, this is what Courtney does, is you say, guess the price of the home. And people, and you give them 3 or 4 options, you know, 500K, 550, 600, and people can actually engage with you because that's what we want on social media. We want them engaging and they can click the answer. And if they're right, they'll find out. If they're wrong, they'll find out. And you can actually track the people that answered to your poll, right? Your test. And then you can message those people from there if you want to even take it a step further. Hey, I saw you guessed it right. That's awesome. Did you like this home? Or little, doesn't even have to be big, but that's another great way. I always try to post pictures and videos of homes I'm touring behind the scenes. People love behind the scenes and my face isn't even in it. And I get a lot of engagement from that.
Which brings me to another person that's not on the panel. If you don't follow Alex Shoots video, he's one of my videographers and head of marketing at my company. He gives a ton of great content online. And what Alexa is referring to is we have a saying around Yellow Brick, the deal is in the DM. Meaning if you can get people in your DM, that's how you're going to transaction with them. And what we were talking about is how do we create engagement? And Carrie went over that in her story when she was a hairdresser, and she was talking about if you have a celebrity lookalike, it has nothing to do with her current business. How can we generate DMs and engagement? It doesn't always need to be about the subject matter. We're just trying to get conversations going. For those of you that have been in my other trainings, like we're just trying to have as many conversations as possible to turn them into consultations, turn consultations into contracts into closings, into some type of compounding, some referrals or you're well, right? So, do you want to talk a little bit, Carrie, about engagement? That was a great story that you had. Yeah, let's do it.
I just want to follow up on the question. So, you guys talked about doing captions and then videos, like, what do you see? So it's kind of 2-part. One is the algorithms that work, and then 2 is the engagement of your audience. So what's the mix there between like doing a story and captioning it, like for the algorithms? Is it better, like best practices, I guess, for the written words and the spoken words?
Whoever's going to answer the question, repeat the question so they can hear.
The question was, what's better to do based off of when you do your story versus your captions on a post, for instance, right? And I would say that, and this is just me, you have to have a very healthy mix of both. Because if you, for instance, post a story and that there's a poll on that story, maybe then the next day or within that hour or 2, you're doing a post that is also a picture of where you just were, right? A lot of times I just posted a story this morning of a closing, but it was just a pull out of a closing that I did. And then I have the actual like carousel on my Facebook, for instance. I put hashtags in there, whatever. I don't know. I haven't checked. I posted like 9 or whatever. So I don't know how many likes or whatever I got, but like you have to have a healthy mix of both. When you also do a post, you need to put it on your story. Like that's another huge thing as well, because if you hashtag explore page, I mean, there's this possibility that your actual post goes on to the explore page that all of us on Instagram, if you just click to the left of you see, there's a possibility that then pops up. So then you also have that engagement that's going on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Can I just jump in here for 2 seconds? So what Moose is talking about, he referenced, so we have our still posts that we put inside our feed, and then we have our stories that go up top, which are more impromptu. That's what we do. And what Moose referenced was he points one call to action towards another to create more engagement. It's no different than what we do or what we should be doing in our regular real estate business. You're sending out emails, reference your mailers. You're sending out your mailers, reference your events. You're sending out text message, reference the calls that you made, and you have a templated approach offline. Now we have a templated approach online. So you're shooting your stories day to day, then share your reels to your stories, and no matter what platform, because pretty much every platform has stories. And point your reels or your stories that you shared back to your reels. Does that kind of make sense? So you're keeping people on your page rather than going to someone else's page. It's kind of like when you list a listing, you want great photos, great bio, great write-up, great video, because the more time the consumers spend on your listing, the less time they're spending on your competitor's listing. Does that kind of make sense?
Because for instance, for you, like specific to you, you're an investor and you have like a bunch of multifamilies and you educate people on investing, right? So like you could make a 10-minute YouTube video, but then you could have a 1-minute clip from that YouTube that's then posted as a reel that then directs you, that can also be posted on TikTok. So that if you do it like this, TikTok brings you to Instagram and also to YouTube. So that if you just post that as a link, as a preview, click the link in my bio, it's going to take you there, right? That's one piece of engagement. But then you can click on the Instagram and it brings you to Instagram as well. Instagram also links to Facebook. So then you're also actually watching it on Facebook, you know what I mean? So like it all plays well with each other if you do it the right way, but it's not that.
Like Alexa kind of brought it up, I believe it was Alexa that said it, where, when you see like long written words out, you're not gonna read the whole thing, so.
It's too much,
What's the, is there a good balance between like you doing a video and you speaking versus actually writing? The algorithms really pick up more of the words than the typewritten words than what you're actually saying, right? So is there a preference or it's just whatever works, like you just mix and match it and
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know the algorithm. And honestly, I try to stay up on what people are recommending. I listen to podcasts, YouTubes all the time about what they recommend for using Instagram, YouTube, all of that. I don't know. I'm not going to act like I know. I do what works for me, that I always put myself in the shoes of the consumer. What do I want to consume? So really be honest with yourself. Would you want to look at this? Would you actually read the caption? Is that picture engaging enough that you'd use it? So, and I think it's really good to mix and match, try different things, see what gets the most likes, see what gets the most comments, and try to run with that.
I have something to say on that as well, because obviously we do want likes and comments, but I can also say that I can't tell you how many times I go somewhere and for instance, I went and I met some friends, they're doing a fundraiser at a local bar in Wallingford. So I went, showed up, and probably like 6 different people there besides the people I was going to see who I haven't seen in a long time. One guy I don't even really know him that well, went to school with him, whatever. In that little moment of being there that night, the people who came up to me and just talked about real estate, whether how's the market, which people love to say, or I just saw your video that you posted about, the new inventory in Wallingford and how there's 0 this week. Literally those conversations with these people who, when I tell you, have never liked a thing of mine on Facebook, have never commented. I don't even know that they're on social media because they're not engaging in any way, shape, or form. So sometimes you might post something and maybe get minimal likes, minimal comments, whatever, and you might think, well, shoot, that didn't go too great, but people are watching it, people are seeing it, people are going to think of it when they see you and bring it up. So
I call them ninja followers.
yeah, so many.
I know a lot of them buy and sell houses. I've been following you for years, really?
The same people comment and the same
Thanks
people
for the
like,
support.
which is great, but there's all these people that don't, but they're still watching it. Yeah. And there was a little brief time where we stopped doing our little green lights video because we were transitioning, whatever, and I went to a wake and I was talking to people after, and it was friends of my best friend, it's her family. These people literally haven't seen them in forever. 2 different people like, oh my God, I love your green lights video. I'm like, you do? You watch it? Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. It's the little things like that that make you realize how huge social media is.
I'm gonna bring it to a couple of, I'm just gonna ask 2 quick Zoom ones, and then you're next after that, because I wanna make sure our Zoom gets a little, so this is from Maria P, and her question, it sounds like it's more of a Facebook question. And it's, in your experience, should you have a personal page along with a professional page? But it's not just a Facebook question, now that I think about it, because a lot of people ask, should I have two pages on Instagram? Should I have my personal and my separate, business page? So, profiles.
I personally, I struggled with that in the beginning too. Do I start a separate Instagram for real estate? And to Alexa's point before is you kind of have all those people, your friends, your family, all of your supporters are already following you. So why are you now going to put yourself in a position where all these people now have to go follow another account, right? They're probably not going to, not because they don't love you, it's just because they have other things going on in their lives. So I personally found that just keeping one Instagram and I mean, I have had a Facebook page too, but it all goes to my business. So that's kind of dwindled off. And for Instagram too, I just keep it all as one, because all those people that really care about you, all those people that are going to use you already follow you.
Yeah.
So you're doing yourself a huge disservice by making people have to go now somewhere else to see what you're doing.
I think too, as you said before, Courtney, you love fashion and you love traveling and you have these other things on your page. And I think that is so important, at least for me too, to not just shove real estate down people's throats.
Yeah.
So people will not only talk to me about real estate, but they'll be like, oh my God, your grandbabies are so cute or whatever. And again, people I haven't seen since high school, you know.
Chinese food.
I saw your Chinese food this morning. I'm like, well, that's weird, but funny, hungry. You know, but yeah, so mix it up. Don't just, because I remember people who sell, like, for instance, like maybe a workout thing or like shakes or whatever. And I had a really good friend who I love dearly. I was like, if I have to see one more video of her trying to like sell these shakes, I'm gonna die. You know, I'm is that a dog? So like it turns you off. So if you want to throw personal things in there, like here's my son, he just did so good at basketball today or whatever, it's important to mix it up.
Just a quick statistic, your average qualified American adult only buys a house every 7 years. So you're only relevant every 7 years, but you're doing this to breach their database, not just them, right? And you're not gonna be relevant if you're only shooting one type of content. So I can't agree with you guys, all of you panelists more, because it just gets boring. We're gonna open it back up to this. I just got only one more Zoom question. It's a very technical question, and it's from Phyllis M, and it's my perceived weakness is making the videos with transitions, words on screens over videos. What programs do you use?
There's honestly, I just use Instagram. So I think that Instagram and even TikTok are a great tool because they have the captions in there. I know Alex, I think you have a VA or something that adds those captions in there, but like if you just go on Instagram, you have the ability to add captions on Instagram, and then you also have the ability to edit on Instagram too. So you could literally do everything on Instagram and then use that as the hub for your actual video, and then save that video and then push it elsewhere.
It might take you a couple hours to familiarize yourself with the Instagram app, right? You might not be able to figure it out right away. So you're gonna have to sit down and, you know, look at this like you're working and really teach yourself and read through the app how to do these things. There's no really like crash course. It's just familiarizing yourself with these apps. There's also CapCut, CapCut. That's another one where you can upload your video and it will just plug in the captions for you right there. But you really just have to take the time and like read these apps as if you're, you know, reading a book or anything else for your job. You really do have to treat, when you're using these social media apps and teaching yourself, treat it like this is part of your real estate job, is learning these apps, because it really will benefit you a lot.
And if you feel like, you know, I will never do that I will never get it. I will never figure it out. I'm not great with all that. I could do some little things, but I'm not, some of it, I'm like, I ask my kids, like, what do I do here? You know, like things like that, but also you can learn, you can go to that extent. You can have people, we have some people who will edit or like kind of longer videos, things like that. But then also just, you know, here I am in a hoodie, getting ready to run out the door, and I'm just gonna talk. So it's like, there's so many different levels of it. Like the young minds are probably so good at it and I am not.
I'm gonna give you one suggestion, and thinking like an entrepreneur and working on your business rather than in your business. Right now, we're coming towards the end of the school year. There are a lot of young individuals looking for internships. I'm not your financial planner. I do advise the realtors that work for me. If you have an LLC, your business or anything like that, it's none of my business, but you can give out internships with credits and get advice or pay these young individuals to, if you don't have children or your children are just teenagers, they want nothing to do with you. And they will make you more familiar with these things. So they can do it for you, but they can also teach you to fish, get the fish, teach you to fish. So that's kind of thinking out of the box. How can we do this? I know that every year I try to hire, what do we call them? Interns, excuse me. I hire interns every single year and they get credits from one of my many businesses. And I get an added advantage on top of that. So that's as well. So we have two more in-house questions that I want to go to. Then we will do a quick little wrap up and you guys could stay. You could stay and you can network. And when I do the wrap up, I'll repeat that as well. So I believe you had a question.
My question was about captions and I think we covered it, so whenever you do a reel on Instagram or on Facebook, I may be using that terminology wrong, but
That's right.
it's better to have a caption, correct? Than to go without always a caption, is that your feeling?
Yeah.
I would say absolutely.
Always a
Mhm.
caption,
Yeah.
okay,
Even if it's like, it just sounds crazy, but like, even if it's a story
yeah,
and like there's, you add a music to the story, even just adding the caption for like the song. Like, you're gonna get more engagement because people will like take that time to like read. So even in part for your question, like you adding captions gets you more engagement.
Yeah.
So,
Right, so some people too, like I know for me, I'll wake up early and if my husband's sleeping or whatever, and I don't want to wake him up, so I have the volume down and I'll just be scrolling. So if there's a video that doesn't have the words of what the person's saying, I don't know what I can't read lips.
Yeah.
I keep scrolling because I don't want to wake him up. But all the videos that have the words of what the person's saying, those are the ones I'll watch, so.
Alice, what percentage of videos online are watched without a volume?
Even the percentage, I can't.
I thought you told me that. A couple weeks ago.
What is it, 80?
I think
Yeah.
it's somewhere around 80% of the videos watched online, they're watching without volume.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Kids at school, you know. All the things, you know, there's all times where you're maybe shouldn't be
Being in
watching.
the crowd right now. Debbie,
I just have a quick question. So I always stand up, Debbie Sienna, Onboard Mortgage.
Never too busy for
your work. So I started Instagram a very long time ago and made my account Mama Sienna, only because I had no intention of ever thinking my business would ever commingle with Instagram. I mean, God forbid. So now what do? Do I keep it Mama Sienna, which is what my followers are looking at, but I have my business page on Facebook and LinkedIn and even I might have TikTok, but anyway,
let's think.
what do I do?
Who loves the name Mama Sienna?
I love it.
All right, so that was the question. Should I change it? And I
That's your
I'm listening
brand
to you.
now. That's like how everyone knows you.
Just a quick thought though, if you actually have the description we all know this, right? But like, if you have Mama Sienna as your thing, but then like your description at the bottom is like loan officer.
It has to have all my,
Yes.
my license number and everything.
Like
If someone
plates.
looks up loan officer and searches loan officer, they're gonna find you.
Okay.
Like if they say, hey, Debbie, like they'll find you because of those words, loan officer.
Okay.
So you're not losing out on
Alright,
like, people
good.
finding you if that was like.
We got one last bonus or we'll do two more questions, all right? All right, and then I'm cutting quick. We're gonna, because I did see Ray raise his hand a couple of times, and then obviously you sponsored this, so we'll let you close out with a question as well. So Ray.
So, sorry, guys, Ray Underwood, Yellow Brick. I just wanted to circle back on the business accounts and the personal accounts. So you create your own content, but what about, content that's created for you, like a keeping current matters or back at you, because they don't really allow you to use your personal Facebook or your personal Instagram. You have to have a business set up. So the issue that I have is when I'm creating content, I have to share it from my business page to my personal page, which then gets shared to my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and everything else. How do you guys go about that? Do you just create your own personal content and that's what you do, or?
No, I mean, I guess maybe for me, it's a business page, but I do personal on it too then. That's really what it boils down to.
So what
So
you're saying is you're just because I want to be clear
Yes.
for people that aren't as sophisticated as you. You have one page, it is registered as a business account,
Mhm.
but it is your personal.
and I do personal stuff on it too. So I will use things like keeping current matters when I'm just too darn busy and I did not do anything and I just need to post something. I will take something good from them. But what we also will do is like, we have a studio in our office and we'll go into the studio. Sometimes I'll bring a change of shirts
Yes.
and we'll just bang out like 5 or 6 videos and I hold on to them. And then randomly post it this day. I'm busy this day. I'll post this, whatever, on top of other little things that I mix in there. But I'll take things like you said, keeping current matters, other stats. Sometimes just because I'm like, well, I didn't post anything today, or I didn't do too much of my story, and I'm just popping those things in like as fillers, kind of.
I'll screenshot them,
Mhm.
cut it, so you know,
And
the,
hold on to it and
then
then,
I'll save
yep,
it to my phone and then go share it to my story
Yep.
or wherever else.
So you guys have actually never like subscribed to like a keeping current matter, you just take a snapshot?
I follow them and so I do, I get like emails and stuff, but I'll just take little pieces of it and pop it onto my social media.
My question is,
Or they use it as an undercurrent to create their own content.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
like, are you finding any, so I remember doing
I
some
agree.
versus
I agree
something.
with you.
Are you finding any like real success from that, right? Because the other thing that's interesting is I paid for something like that, posted on my Facebook and the whole nine, and like, not for nothing, but I didn't get any success from that. I think what ended up happening was it like pivoted me into that like real estate, like robot kind of thing, where people are like, well, he's not even posting that.
Oh, so Moose, you mean they're posting it for you?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's- I
okay.
think that's what's. up too,
Okay.
right?
I typically use it because, again, I don't really have the time.
Right.
All the time, and it
Mm.
posts every single day.
Yeah.
Ray, I love you, but I'm gonna put a squash in that no, keep talking, but I wanna, that's a story you're telling yourself. Because we all have the same amount of time in a day. I have the same amount of time as Bill Gates. He's more successful because he prioritizes things. So never succumb to the fact of, because I tell that story to myself as well. And I just want to, this is a mind state thing. Never say I don't have the time. The reality is it's not my priority. I'm not prioritizing that time towards that activity. So I'm sorry, I'm loving you. I'm using you as an example right now, not to embarrass you, but I want to make sure that we're all very clear on that. You all have the time. We all have 8,760 hours in a year. No one here has extra hours.
I think
So-
one thing that the 4 of us, I'm speaking for the other 3 of you, but this is part of our workday is social media. We each, I mean, I can't talk for the 3 of them, but I carve out at least an hour of my day to put content together for the rest of the day or the rest of the week or whatever that is. I don't put out a post on my actual Instagram or my Facebook every single day, right? But I'm always posting what I'm doing on my story and I'm always getting another post prepared and ready to go. I use an app called Unum, UNUM, and I preset all of my posts in there. So I can make my feed, if anyone goes to my feed, you'll see it's like, it presents really nicely, it's cohesive. I do that ahead of time, though. I'll sit maybe the first of every month, I'll sit down and I'll pre-plug them in on this app just to see what it's gonna look like, right? Maybe I'll take another day where I pre-write a bunch of captions so that once I have some pictures of myself or from my closings, I can just copy and paste them and go.
Yeah.
So one thing I'd recommend for everyone here, if you're not already, is making social media a part of your every single day, like work life and your business plan. A lot of people, they look at social media, like even my own boyfriend, he's like, you've been on your phone all day, you're not working. I'm like, no, I'm putting together these 3 reels that are gonna get thousands of likes and views and they're gonna get people responding.
You just paid for that Mexico trip.
Exactly.
Really quick to Courtney's point too, I think it really helps. We've obviously talked a lot about how it's intimidating and how maybe you're not comfortable posting. It takes a lot of energy out of me. There's some
Yeah.
days I really don't feel like getting on a video, putting myself on the screen. So
Yeah.
really try to time block it, or if you are actually feeling good, maybe you just got your hair cut, maybe you know, you look a little better than you did the day before. Take advantage of that. Sit down and make your content when you're in the mood or when you're mentally in it, and try to get done as much as you can, because if you feel yourself, you're like, oh my God, I haven't posted in a week, I have to put a video out today, but you're not in the mood, it's really challenging.
Yeah.
So try to carve out that time, and you know you're in it and you know you'll get it done.
So smart to do what Carrie's saying as well, to like come in and like come with like 6 or
Yeah.
7 different outfits.
Yeah.
And like do it that day. If it takes 5 hours that day and that's the only thing you do, you now have video forever.
Right.
And to Sam Alexis' point, it's super, super important because your mom trusted you to buy, my mom didn't trust me
Yeah.
to cover my house, because she was like, why the hell would I trust you? You got your license like a week ago. Like,
You just sold me weed, man.
It's bad.
Bring it back.
But you know what I'm saying? Like your sphere, you're actively actually trying to get to your friends and your family by using that third party recognition to like be like, do you trust me? Do you
Yeah.
trust me? Like, do
Yeah.
you trust me now? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
So we're gonna have one more question because I want to respect everybody's time, but I do want to just clarify what they're saying. So it sounds like there's two types of posting going on. There's intentional posting, time blocking, setting time aside, bringing in multiple outfits, knowing what we're going to be talking about, right? But we also know that we're not always in the mood. Sometimes we time block and we get there and something else comes up. I don't want to do it. But then we also have be the content, shoot as you go. Some of you laughed. I just walked by everyone with a taking a video, but I don't care because I'm just going to do it as I go. You know, so some of us time block, some of us go and do it as we go. So there's two strategies you can make, and none of them is wrong. You know, and you heard from Moose earlier. My videos sucked. They probably,
I said they were better.
they probably still do. But they're very intentional. Christina, let's close out that last question, do a quick little wrap up, and then you guys can mingle afterwards.
No, I'm good. It was just, I wanted to respond to what Deb said, and she's Mama Sienna. And I'm glad everybody likes it, because I think you must feel like, oh, do I want to be called Mama? And I was in the office the other day, and one of Alan's team walks by, a couple fist bumps, and said, yeah, Mama's in the house. I wasn't sure if that was a compliment. Am I the mother of the house now? But I went by Mama Krebs for a long time. That's my last name. So it's a niche, and I think I agree with everyone, and it's fitting and it's positive.
All right, go up, Tommy.
For someone that wants to gain followers, to gain the engagement, is there a specific kind of posting, either more story based or, you know, post based, or a certain balance of either per week?
First of all, do amount of followers even matter? And then answer his question.
I think they matter.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like it does and it doesn't, right? Like if there's 4 of us up here and all 4 of us follow you, and like you post a video that's like, I'm gonna sell a house, but like, well, it's not gonna attract any of us because we all sell houses, right? But like if your sphere, your CRM is your following, right? It's the same thing that you just said. So like if you are making, if your goal is to go viral, I don't think the goal is to go viral. I don't think anyone's goal is to go viral. I don't think anyone's goal behind CEO was to be a real estate agent, right? Like, I don't even think it was like, it's like I'm going to school for this, like, you know what I mean? But I think that what you do and what you have to do is you have to plug in to what you already have, and you can go viral with 5 people as your followers, because if 5 people share a good video, then other people are going to see that video from their following, and then they're going to share it too, right? So I don't know if Jasmine's still here, but Jasmine, this is craziness. Jasmine made this video of this house that is never going to sell, and it's $550K in
With the indoor pool.
the indoor pool, right? 14,000 shares, over 700,000 views, and it's literally just because it has a pool.
And her following from that has, how many followers do you think she's got?
Probably like triple.
You could just
Right.
throw out that one video that makes people think, for another second, you know, because a lot of these real estate agents, they're just throwing out property tours and a lot of people just scroll past them, they could care less. But when you post something that makes people like think for a second, like my first video ever was like, it was like a really controversial thing where I was like, you know, you can use an FHA loan, not buying your first house. A lot of people didn't like that, but it's true. And that got a lot of people talking. And I think I got, you know, overnight, hundreds of followers started pouring in.
And you had to actually turn the comments off.
I did, because a lot of loan officers didn't like that I posted.
Right.
But I mean, it got me the followers, it got me the following. What's most important is posting something that you can get someone to respond to you from. That's really what the goal is, right? So you can have the conversation. So posting anything that is gonna make someone be like, whoa, that's cool, or whoa, I didn't know that, or I did a video last week about like this new time to own program where the government's giving away money to people. I don't even really know how it works, but I know I got like 20 leads from that video of people saying I'm interested. And then I say, okay, well, let's get the ball rolling. Let's put you in touch with the lender and see what you qualify for. None of them are using the time to own program, but all of them are working with me. Now all of them are pre-approved. So you just need to post stuff that's gonna get people responding to you so that you can now open up that conversation and be confident enough that you can convert them once they get into your DMs.
Yeah.
So that's why I initiated in closing, do the followers even matter? No, focus on engagement, what you currently have. And if you focus on that, that's how you can get those posts that may end up increasing your follower base.
You know where I got the most of my followers? This is super random. I just want to say this out loud really quickly, because this is black. But this is what something along the lines, you post what you're doing, right? So like I was on Snapchat. I went to Tokyo, I went to Japan for like 3 weeks in like 2019. And I was like walking out doing that, 20,000 views on Snapchat. I was like, what the hell?
That's true.
And then I'd be like, look, and I'm like, 100,000 views. Like, what's going on? Then I like put my face in, it was like 1 million views. I was like, whoa. So then I literally just put my at.
So go to Japan.
Well, this tag any major city, but like I just started putting at, so and that was the whole idea of like I'm not wasting my time. I'm obviously in Japan, but like, you know, I doubled it. I was like, I'm also gonna post a cool video, but I'm also gonna put my at the bottom.
Location, highly populated areas.
Yeah.
You are already going to networking events, Brantford Town Fair or whatever. That's your content.
That's it right
So
there.
that goes real quick along, I forget your name right there, pointing at you.
Right?
Right, yeah.
Lisa
So
Savage, but-
with talking about that, with being busy, like, that's when you do your videos when you're there. So you're at the home inspection, you ask the home inspector, hey, real quick on this video, like, tell me, what's the craziest thing you ever saw at a home inspection or something like that? Like, you're there anyways. You're doing things that you're doing for your business.
Yeah.
And then just show it.
Or just record the inspector. You don't even, if you're afraid to even ask the inspectors, record the inspector and post on your story and be like, inspection day. Do an inspection. That's what I do. You're just showing people, hey, I'm doing real estate every single freaking day. So when you're ready, I'm still gonna be selling.
All right, so we can stay after, we can network, you know, let's give a round of applause for the panel. I was gonna do a wrap up, right? But again, another great idea from one of our members out here is that, you know, what I'll do is I'll send up a follow email from the panelists and I'll send you a panel list.
Yes.
Right? A list of what my biggest takeaways were. Now, if you are on, I will also send all of their social media channels. Start to follow them to get content for yourself, see what they're doing, so you can get comfort from yourself. Follow me. If you're on Zoom, it's already all in there. You're already all in my email list, in my data bank. So you will be getting emails from me. And then start to follow and see, where are they going? What are they attending? Are they throwing their own events after this? Now, I do want to close in saying this. Some of us that are a little more sophisticated on social media, this may have been a little more higher level. If you enjoyed this, please respond back to my email. Let me know if you want something that gets a little more granular and a little more detailed and a little more sophisticated. Like, what are the actual technical procedures that I can take in order to have a intentional social media presence? All right. So thank you for them, and thank you for yourself for showing up. Great.
Great job, man.